What's up, guys? It's Jackie here. I hope your day is going great. Today we are going to collect some herbs to hang and dry, some flowers to press. We're going to start by heading outside and collecting some herbs and flowers because tonight it is going to get in the 30s. It might be the first time this fall that we have had temperatures below 40. So I want to make sure that I collect everything that I want to collect, or a bunch of stuff at least, before anything happens to them, in case, any light frost takes them. My mom sent me a screenshot today. Apparently we could potentially get snow. Probably not here though, because we are right up against the lake, and usually in the spring, because the lake holds on to the cold longer, it takes us more time to heat up, but in the fall it takes us more time to cool down since the lake is still hot from the summer. We could still potentially get into the 30s, so I'm going to treat it as if today is my last day to collect things to press and such. So we are going to get outside and start harvesting some stuff, and I'll show you guys how to hang herbs. I don't have a great spot to hang them right now, but we're gonna make do, and so I'll show you how to do that. But before I go outside and collect more things to put in my flower press, we need to empty what's already in there. And I'll show you kind of how I use the flower press. I don't leave the flowers in there the entire time they're drying. I'm gonna go over to the table and I'll explain that all to you. So this is my flower press. I just had John cut me 2 pieces of 1/2-inch MDF board into the size just slightly bigger than a piece of paper, and I just used some of our clamps that we have for construction, and it clamps them down real nicely and it keeps it real tight. And then after they've been in here for long enough to squish them and make them flat, I then put them in paper towels to finish the drying process. So you can see in here, I have all my flowers laid out, and they dry pretty nicely. And then after they are completely dry, and you want to make sure that they are completely dry, I put them in plastic bags to store them. You want to make sure they are truly completely dry, because if you put them in plastic bags with even a hint of moisture left, they will probably mold. So you just want to give them a good long time, several weeks, depending on how humid your climate is, until they dry. Make sure they truly feel kind of brittle almost. So yeah, I am going to get all of these flowers that are in the paper towels into plastic bags, and then I'm going to put all of the flowers that are currently in the flower press onto paper towels to dry. And then we'll go outside and collect more.
When we wake, hear the birds and see the sun. Side by side our fears are done. Oh, the good times just begun. We know what we have, let's hold on tight. Found what we're looking for in life. Call us crazy, but things are finally right. With you and I, the future is bright. Sleep, hear the crickets, see the moon. Side by side and through. No limit to what we can do. Oh, we know what we have, let's hold on tight.
Now this is an exciting stack of paper towels. We'll reuse all this paper, so it might seem kind of wasteful, with all this paper consumption, but I will reuse these until I can't anymore, until they disintegrate or get too wrinkly. And I did not put these guys in here. I'm gonna put them back in here because I just put these leaves in here yesterday. So I'm about to head out to start grabbing some herbs so we can dry those. I've got my gloves and a pair of scissors here because my pruners are absolutely awful. So I use scissors instead. So I'm actually going to take this bucket here and empty it out because I'm going to use this bucket to collect all my herbs in. So the times that I have here, I believe this might be lemon thyme, lime thyme, and coconut thyme. And then we've got parsley here, and I have some other thymes throughout the garden. So now that my bucket is empty, I'm going to go through and sparingly pick a piece here, a piece there, so we don't damage the entire plant. It's best to not take more than 25%, but definitely don't take more than 50% of the plant, because most of these thymes are between zones 4 or 5, so they should come back next year. I'm not sure if all of them will make it just because it is in a planter, and when you are working with things in planters, you want them to be at least 2 zones colder, and we're a zone 6. So as long as these are a zone 4, we're good, but if any of them are a zone 5 or 6, then they might not survive unless we have a mild winter. So I'm gonna go through and pick just sparingly throughout the plant, put them in my bucket, and then we'll go take them inside to tie them up and start drying them. This one I was able to just get the whole branch, so I'll just hang the branch up like that. But I got way more than I needed because it can be really fun to give this as gifts too. So dry a ton of herbs and then buy the little jars from Amazon or whatever for spices, or even go find fun little jars at thrift stores and put them in there and give them as gifts, you know? Everybody loves homegrown herbs. That's a really cheap but thoughtful gift that you can give people this holiday season. To dry your herbs, it is as simple as taking some of this twine and taking your bundle and tying a knot here. You want it pretty tight because as these dry, they are going to lose some circumference. So you want it tight enough that it's not going to just all fall off as it dries. But you just take the twine, tie it to the top, and hang it in a well-ventilated, out of direct sunlight place to dry until they look something like these. These I have been drying. I never actually hung them up. They were just sitting on my counter, and they are nice and brittle now. So then when you want to go use them in cooking, all you do is just scrape the leaves off, and then you have fresh thyme. Or if you'd like to store them in jars, you could also take the time to pick off all the leaves and put the leaves in a jar for later use. You can totally hang them up with tape or little nails or little cup hooks or however you want to do it. I'm using command hooks up there. So now I got to do it for the rest of them, and I'm going to use this space right here, and I think it'll look really pretty. A little kitchen decoration. Hanging to dry parsley is not the best method. I have seen it's better to do like an oven or a dehydrator, but the problem with the oven when you put any herb in is you release all of those like essential oils into the oven. By hang drying or air drying like this, you're not releasing any of the, the oils. The oils will still be concentrated, and so will the flavor. But I did hang a bunch of parsley just to see what happens. I'm the type of person that I need to learn for myself from firsthand experience if something works or not. So I'm just gonna try it. I didn't grab a bunch, just a tiny bit. And you wanna make sure that you're hanging all of your herbs in small little bunches. If your bunches are too big, it'll take a really long time to dry, and the outer layers will dry quicker than the inner layers, and the inner layers might get moldy at that point, and you don't want that. The reason that parsley is kind of bad for air drying is because it has more moisture content. Air drying and hang drying really works best for herbs that have like thin leaves, don't retain a lot of moisture in it. and parsley does have a lot more moisture than, say, thyme. Thyme is an excellent one to dry. So I'm just gonna see what happens with that. But right now I'm gonna take my basket of potatoes out. I'm gonna try and track down a burlap sack, and I'm gonna go outside and clean off all my potatoes. They are still really dirty. They're getting dirt all over my kitchen table. And I'm gonna put them in the garage, just lay them flat to let any excess moisture from when I harvested them evaporate before I store them in my kitchen. So what I'm gonna do now is in my garage, I'm gonna lay out some burlap sacks and place the potatoes on single layers so there's lots of airflow and they can cure, so they last a lot longer in storage. Now, I did get a lot of little potatoes here, but honestly, I love these little sized potatoes because they are absolutely perfect for throwing in the crock pot with a roast and some chopped up carrots. Absolutely delicious. I did not get a whole lot of big potatoes, but I also did not let the plants stay in long enough just because we ran out of season. But not too bad because I honestly did not think that I was going to get any potatoes. Now, some of these Russian bananas seem to be quite green, so I'll have to go through and either cut those parts off that are green because the green is toxic to eat. That just means that they were exposed to sun, and that's what the sun does to potatoes. So, see, this one is green on one side, so I can just cut that off and eat the rest of it. And once I take these out of the garage and store them in my kitchen, I'm going to go through and look to see if there are any that have like imperfections like this. Those are the ones that I'll use first, just because they won't store as long. And I'll also have to go through and figure out which ones I'm going to be saving to then be my seed potatoes for the next season. So I'll just let these sit in the garage, just right here on the floor, probably just for a couple days. And then I'll just put them back in the basket that they were in, and I will store them in my kitchen. You just want to make sure wherever you're storing them is out of direct sunlight and someplace a little cool. But I just store them in the dark corner of my kitchen counter. Alright, so the last thing that I'm going to do before I start gathering all the things that I'm going to put in my flower press is gather some of this lettuce that's right here and pot it up and bring it inside. So I'm gonna get these plants inside, watered, under grow lights, and then I'm going to grab my bucket, my scissors, and finally get to grabbing all the things that I'm gonna put in my flower press. Alright, it looks like I gotta do this quickly because it just started to rain, so hyperspeed mode. grasses that I harvested, I'm just gonna do the same thing that I did with the herbs, and I'm going to tie them at the end and hang them upside down to dry. All right, so I'm losing light fast. At this point, it's kind of too dark to film. So I'm going to finish up pressing all these flowers, and then I'm going to make dinner. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me, and we will see you in the next video. Bye.